All right, welcome everyone. Today we are diving into a topic that is, no exaggeration, totally reshaping our world: big data. You hear that term all the time, right? But it's so much more than just a buzzword. It's really the engine behind so much of modern innovation. So, in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what it is and, maybe more importantly, why it matters so much.
Think about it. It wasn't that long ago that businesses basically ran on gut instinct and experience. But today, today the most successful companies on the planet run on data. It's like the new currency, or maybe the new oil. It's the raw material that powers modern business and really drives innovation forward.
Okay, so if data is the new currency, how do you actually spend it? How does all this information translate into a real, tangible advantage in the real world? Well, let's get into the key benefits.
Really, at its core, this whole big data thing is about one thing: gaining a competitive edge. The companies that can actually harness these massive data sets, they can see the market with incredible clarity. They understand their customers on a whole new level, and ultimately, they can make moves that their competitors just can't see coming.
And what's so cool here is that this isn't just a random list of benefits. They all feed into each other. It all starts with making smarter, data-driven decisions. That, in turn, leads to way better operational efficiency. And when you get that deeper customer understanding, boom, you uncover new opportunities for innovation. And all the while, managing risk proactively means you're always a step ahead. It's this incredibly powerful, self-reinforcing cycle. So we've covered the why it's so important. But what actually makes big data big? And spoiler alert, it's not just about the size. Okay, here's the textbook definition, but the key phrase you need to focus on is traditional data processing inadequate. Just think about a simple spreadsheet like Excel. It's amazing for your personal budget, right? But if you try to load even 1 hour's worth of global social media data into it, it would just completely crash and burn. The scale and the sheer complexity of this stuff required a totally new way of thinking, a brand new playbook. And this new playbook is perfectly summed up by what we call the 5 V's. First up, you've got volume, and we're talking about just a mind-boggling scale of data. Terabytes, petabytes, you name it. Then there's variety. This isn't your neat and tidy spreadsheet anymore. We're talking text from emails, images, videos, sensor data from your watch. It's all over the place. Next is velocity, which is the insane speed at which this data is being generated, a lot of it in real time. Now, veracity is the super important one. Is the data any good? Is it accurate and trustworthy? Because garbage in, garbage out, right? And finally, you get to what is honestly the most important V of them all: value. This is the whole point: turning all that raw, chaotic information into something useful, something that actually changes the game.
Right, so that's the big question, isn't it? How do we get to that final, all-important V, the value? How do you take this flood of information and actually pull out something meaningful? Well, that is where the magic of analytics comes into play. You can think of analytics as the engine that makes the whole thing run. It's the process of sifting through all that noise to find the one crucial signal. Without analytics, big data is just a giant, expensive, useless pile of digital junk. But with analytics, it becomes a treasure map. Now, a great way to think about analytics is that it has 2 main flavors. You've got descriptive analytics. That's like looking in your car's rearview mirror. It tells you what happened, where you've been. Then you have predictive analytics. That's like looking out the front windshield. It uses all that past data to help you see what's coming up on the road ahead. And you absolutely need both to navigate effectively. So let's make this real. Here's a perfect example of looking in that rearview mirror. A company looks at last year's sales data. Okay, what do they see? They see their seasonal trends, their peak sales periods. They figure out what actually happened. This is absolutely foundational stuff. And then here's where it gets really powerful. They take all that historical data and they use it to look through the windshield. They build a model to forecast next year's sales. So what does that let them do? Well, they can stock their inventory before the big rush hits, instead of scrambling to react when it's already happening. That's the power of looking forward. Okay, so it probably goes without saying, but trying to crunch petabytes of data, yeah, that's going to take a little more than a spreadsheet and a strong cup of coffee. You need a seriously specialized and powerful set of tools to get the job done. And the big data toolbox is, well, it's huge. There are all these different tools for specific jobs. You have the heavy lifters for storage and processing, things like Hadoop and Spark that can manage just an insane amount of information. Then you have the storytellers, the visualization tools that turn boring numbers into these beautiful interactive dashboards. Of course, your classic querying and analysis tools are still super important for digging in and asking very specific questions. And then for the really advanced stuff, for building those predictive models we talked about, you've got powerful programming languages that are the gold standard in data science. And this really gives you a feel for the spectrum of tools out there. On one hand, you've got these really intuitive, almost drag-and-drop interfaces for creating stunning visual dashboards. And on the other hand, you have the raw, unadulterated power of code, where you can build completely custom, sophisticated machine learning models from scratch. Which one do you use? Well, it completely depends on the question you're trying to answer. All right, so let's start to pull all these threads together and zoom out. Let's look at the big picture. Where is all of this really heading? And this really gets to the heart of the matter. Big data isn't just a piece of technology you buy. It's a fundamental shift in how businesses even think and operate. It's about moving away from a world of, well, I think this is a good idea, to a world where you can say, I know this is the right move because the data proves it. That is a massive, massive shift in strategy. And ultimately, this is the end game. It's about taking this giant, tangled web of data, pulling out those golden nuggets of insight, and then using them not just to get ahead of the competition, but to actually create what comes next, to truly innovate and to lead the way into the future.
And so that leaves us with one final and I think pretty crucial question to think about. In a world that is increasingly run by data, what's the bigger risk here? Using it or being left behind by it? Because in this new age, the one thing we know for sure is that standing still is probably the biggest risk you can take.